Hello, all you rabid Lions fans, and welcome to Lions on the Prowl. News, rumors, and debates from the fans' perspective. Here's Markus, Jim, and Tim.
Hello, Lions fans. Welcome to Lions on the Prowl. My name's Jim.
And my name is Maniac Tim.
And this is Make a Joke Marcus.
And this is episode number 61 this week. And we're going to go into our shout-outs. Tim, take it away.
Okay, Wayne Coopt from work, Barb from work, Tim Reardon from work, Brian from work, Ricky from work.
It's a theme. Okay, my first shout-out is to Kim Possible. Awesome. We also have Dawn and Carrie and a couple other people from work, Paige from work, and I think that's going to be all for me today. Okay, we're about to get to our interview with Stephan Tsai, and that will be right after these messages.
Lions on the Prowl is currently seeking sponsors for the show. If your business would like to reach our audience, please email lionsontheprowl14@gmail.com.
Have you tried everything to lose weight? Are you still looking for that one thing that is finally going to work? Then contact Tammy about how you can lose weight, increase energy, and gain tons of overall health benefits. It's safe, affordable, and so easy with just 2 capsules twice a day. She can be reached at connect.fitturtle.life. That URL again is connect.fitturtle.life. Do it today. We have a very special guest this week. Stephan Tsai covers the University of Hawaii football for the Star Advertiser. Welcome to the show, Stephan Tsai.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Doing good.
Happy to have you on with us today.
It's a beautiful day here. But it'll rain in about 6 minutes and then it'll stop. So
every day.
Wow. I gotta go there one day.
I have not been either.
Not really a water torture, but it is. But it's pretty consistent.
So, is it really the land of paradise?
It's pretty good. We could use a casino or two here. That would help. But yeah, other than that, it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, we were trying to build one here for the last 10 years.
That's true.
All right.
That's why they call Las Vegas the 9th Hawaiian island. So that's where most white people go.
Right.
All right. So I have been honored to ask you the first question. So I hope it does justice. So after covering Hawaii, after watching Jahlani Tavai, how did the Hawaii defense respond to him? Like, how did they view him? What was his value to the team?
He was just a guy who just emerged as a leader. And he came in as really a very talented but humble guy, and he's been in a couple of systems, and he just kind of grew into it, and he just emerged as the kind of guy that people followed. When they had player run practices in the off season, he was the one leading a lot of practices. Sometimes he'd bring the water coolers and stuff like that, and he just make sure that people were held accountable, and people just sort of gravitated toward him.
How would you say that growth took place? Was it a rapid growth? Did it happen over time?
I think it was a gradual growth. He's very respectful of his older players, and I think that really kind of helped him sort of fit in. And he just kind of stood by and kind of just let a lot of the older players take control. And then finally, as he kind of grew and matured in the system, then he just sort of naturally became a leader. And I think it was kind of reflected in the way how people responded to him.
He had to pay his dues, right?
Yeah, a little bit, and he actually could have seized control a lot earlier because I think his first every last 3 seasons he had 100 plus tackles, or was on track for 100 plus tackles in the last season, and he was definitely the defensive leader, but he just decided it wasn't his time to really be the vocal leader, and last year that was what happened. He just they had a team vote, and he was named the team captain.
Wow. Many fans were kind of shocked by this pick. Lions fan, including me, we didn't know anything about him or very little.
I think the coaching staff was shocked by that pick too. They projected maybe third, hopefully, probably fourth round, and when they saw second, they were high-fiving each other.
Yeah. Yeah, we weren't. Just to be perfectly honest. But
and I understand that, especially with the history of drafting Hawaii players in the second round. I believe Ikaika Lama Francis was the guy who probably didn't reach his full potential, and I think a lot of people are a little bit scared by it. But I don't think there should be any concerns about Jahlani. He's a football player.
And that's what we're kind of going for. What kind of football player are we getting?
Getting a really versatile player, and that's probably what contributed to his being picked in the second round. He's, I guess his coaches describe him as a New England Patriots type of defensive player. He can play a lot of different positions. Ran a 4-2-5 defense, and a lot of times they would pull a Russian and they would move him up to the line as a defensive end, so he could play a little bit of defensive end. He's played middle linebacker, but he also played a little strong side, weak side, and they move him around a lot. He could play in coverage. Because Hawaii always used 5 defensive backs, he didn't necessarily have to drop back or defend inside players, but he's capable of it. But just that, they have that area pretty much covered with a corner nickel or nickel corner. So he's just getting a versatile guy. And I think what we've been hearing is that the Patriots were sort of interested in taking him in the third round. And I think that's what caused Detroit to take him a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
Yeah, and I also heard Quinn's press conference on him, and he was really sold on this type of guy because he's former New England Patriots organization from there, and he's a type of toughness player that the Lions are really looking for. They're changing their whole system to be a much tougher team. So I think that's really what sold him.
So you're going to get middle linebacker toughness out, but you're also going to get a lot of the versatility and quickness that you probably wouldn't expect from a middle linebacker type of guy. He's got that build for it, but he can also play the outside, and again, like I told you, he can play a little bit of Russia and that joker position. So you get a very versatile player and a very smart player. And also 2 of his older brothers had a pro experience, so I think that kind of helps him understand the pressures and the demands of playing at the next level.
Cool, thanks.
All right. So, we talked a little bit before this about the weather, how it's so nice down there. You always got sun. Michigan is definitely not the same way.
Not at all.
Do you think that, because, we do play part of the football season over the winter, do you think that's going to affect his play at all?
Especially outdoors like at Chicago,
Denver,
Denver,
places like that we have on the schedule
cold
this year.
I don't really think so, since he moves around so much. Hawaii's played at some pretty tough places to play. He's played at Wyoming, which I believe is the 7,200 feet above sea level. So that's, I think, the highest football field in the country. And he's played in some very cold places, and he's played in very hot places too. So I think he'll adjust. He's a California kid, but he can adjust to a lot of different weathers, and I believe he has some relatives in Utah, and that's mostly cold most of the year.
Yeah, if you live in the upper part, it is, and the mountains.
What do you think about East Coast teams? You think he'll be okay with those too?
I think so. The way the NFL travels is probably a little bit different from how Hawaii would travel, but then because Hawaii is the distance between Hawaii and the West Coast is the same as the distance between the West Coast and the East Coast. I think he's used to travel. He's used to time differences, and I think he can adjust to playing in colder climates.
But the season drags on so much longer. You know what I mean? Is he going to be well adjusted for that?
I think that's the hope he will be. I really don't know until he actually goes through the whole year, but he seems like he's a guy who can adjust, and I think he's smart enough to spend a lot of his free time indoors.
Okay, that's fair.
We heard about. Oh, sorry about that. We heard about an incident with Jahlani where he got arrested or something. Can you give us more information on that, or do you know more about that than we've heard?
He was at a club, and one of his former teammates, his girlfriend, was being harassed by this guy, and then he helped break it up. And then when he went into left and were in the parking lot, that guy and his friend started to attack one of Jahlani's teammates. So Jahlani help pull him off, and there was some scuffling going on, and I guess he was trying to save his teammate who was on the ground while being kicked and everything, and then they just arrested a bunch of people. And
so they didn't know what was going on, so they just took everybody, basically.
Right, and they also never charged him, and but I believe he was suspended for the first game just because that's just one of those things that when you get arrested, you get suspended at UH. So, but he was cleared by the school and he's cleared by the police, so no charges were brought. So I think probably not something you want to do, but he's an adult, and it didn't seem like he initiated anything.
And honestly, I can honestly say that I can respect that. Man to man, yeah. I can respect that.
I think it's something to me where it shows his character more than less.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you don't want your players, getting involved in fights. But if you're standing up for someone's girlfriend, you're standing up for a teammate, then it's a little bit understandable. And in fact, his teammate was pleading not for him not to be arrested, to arrest him for being involved in the fight. But they just decided they'll take everybody in and sort it out later.
But it's one thing to pick a fight. It's one thing to gentlemanize a fight.
Yeah. They did everything but wear white gloves and duel, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with his character as far as in being a protector of
yeah, that's one of those things you'll find about him. He's a really honest guy. I think Nick Rolovich, the UH football coach, is innovative. He does some things that might not be as traditional as people would expect, but he's got two rules. One is loyalty, and one is don't lie to me. And as far as we know, that Jahlani doesn't lie about things, and he's very loyal. He's loyal to his teammates. He's loyal to the team. He's loyal to the sport. So I think that's the type of player you'll be getting.
Okay. Unfortunately, the Lions have had a lot of injury-prone players. This shoulder injury that he has, how well do you think he's going to heal from it?
I think he'll be okay because they shut him down right after the injury. He actually wanted to keep playing, and they shut him down. And he went through the same clinic where the one out in California was at the Job Clinic, the one where I think Russell Westbrook had some surgery done, and a bunch of other players. I think that's the same group that is team doctors for the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Angels and stuff like that. So his shoulder should be healed enough. And he, when he went to the combine, he didn't participate in any of the lifting exercise or anything. He did it at the pro day. So I think he should be healed. He's been working out at Hawaii, or was working out at Hawaii this past summers, and he looked like he was in okay shape.
That sounds good. He had surgery, though, for it, didn't he, or no?
Yeah, he had surgery.
Okay, just making sure.
All right.
I believe that was his only injury that he had, or the only injury he admitted to. But
it's the only one we've heard of.
Yeah, he's a tough guy, and other things would probably turned up on those medical tests. But he's a tough guy, and he'll play through discomfort. And I think the thing that really annoyed him about that play that he got injured was that they didn't credit him with a touchdown. I believe that they called the play back, and so that annoyed. That's what annoyed him more than being injured, and then not playing after that really annoyed him.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I seen the clip on that, so that bugged me too. And in the Lions, we get a lot of play calls like that where they'll go ahead and take away a touchdown. So he probably is going to need to get used to that going to Detroit.
Okay.
So there are Hawaii ties with Detroit, apparently, right? I think you've had June Jones there and Mouse Davis. So
Mouse Davis, 91.
Yeah, they speak fondly of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Tim loves the run and shoot, by the way.
Well, actually, that's because that was the only playoff game the Lions have won in not so recent history.
Mouse Davis had the run and shoot offense here in Detroit.
Yeah. Well, Jerry Glanville, who was also a coach here for a little bit, he didn't like the run and shoot. He used to say in June Jones's offense that the tight end was a condition, not a position.
Yeah. Glanville went on for he was Atlanta Falcons coach, right?
Right, his Falcons, and he was. I think it was the old Houston Oilers too.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, that's way back.
way
Way
back.
back
So
in the
that's
day.
June came, and then June was here for 9 years, 10th if you count when he was a graduate assistant here. So it just seems everyone speaks highly of Detroit.
Yeah.
And the Hawaii's athletic director is a Michigan graduate, David Matlin.
Oh, nice.
Go U of M.
Okay, Marcus.
So he made us go to the brown jug.
Oh yeah.
All right, so the Lions have a history of wimpy tackling, and Jahlani is said to have flaws in his tackling form. After watching him, do you think his technique can be improved?
I think so. I think it really helped the last year. He was coached by Mark Banker. That was his position coach. Mark Banker used to be at Nebraska, Oregon State, but he was also defensive coordinator with San Diego Chargers for a couple of years. And Banker is, Coach Junior Seau, so he taught him a lot of different things about tackling. And I think that the deal with Hawaii was they didn't practice a lot of take to the ground tackling in practices because of their concern about injuries. So they practice more like a pro team. So, yeah, I think getting to the ball is going to be he won't have any problem getting the ball. And I think the way he hits and the way he plays and the expectations on him, I think he'll be an improved tackler.
I wanted to know. I know you covered him for how long? What, 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 years. 5 years.
5 years. Okay. So, what's your favorite story about him? Did you write about him particularly, or, you know what I'm saying? What was your favorite story that you've heard about him? As a person, could be something different, not necessarily football.
Well, I like that he was discovered by Norm Childs. Norm Childs used to be the head coach here, but he was also the offensive coordinator at USC and UCLA and a bunch of other places. And it was Norm Childs' son who discovered him playing basketball.
Wow.
I think Norm Child's son was an assistant coach on the high school basketball team, Mira Costa, and they noticed this tall player with a lot of athletic ability, and they decided, well, just the footwork alone was kind of what sold them on him. And he actually was more of a rugby player when he was recruited, and when he played football, I think he was like a 210-pound nose tackle and tight end, and so he's had to really grow into the sport, and that's one of those things that they like about him. It's sort of like the old basketball players that start playing basketball really late in their high school years, that they don't pick up any bad habits, and that's kind of how he was trained. That he playing the positions he played the past few years, he didn't have a lot of experience until he got into college, and I think by picking up the sport late, or those positions late, especially with the coaching he was getting, he doesn't have very many bad habits.
Wow. That's good to know. There's a lot of tight ends that do that too, that play basketball and transfer pretty well to the NFL.
And there's also a guy, there's a kicker, Rigo Sanchez, who's with the Indianapolis Colts, and he played for Hawaii. And there was one game where Rigo's grandparent, I think, had died, so Rigo missed that game to go to California for the funeral, and they were looking for a punter, and they couldn't find one, so Jahlani was the punter, and he actually did pretty well.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
So the thing wasn't just they weren't worried about his punting because of his rugby background. They were worried that he was trying to take off a little too early. And Hawaii against UCLA a couple of years ago, they went for it on 4th and 21. I think they only got 19 yards out of that. And so with that type of freedom, they were kind of worried he would take off a little bit, but he didn't. He stayed put and punted very well.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. So, yes, Jahlani has NFL size, but he's known to just want to deliver a big hit. Is he going to be able to do his job in the NFL? Because, going against running backs like Elliott and Saquon Barkley, they're going to bounce off that big hit. He's got to wrap his arms. He's got to run through his tackles. Is he going to be able to do his job?
I think so. There's some stat we did on him a few years ago where I believe I think some 85% of his tackles were within the tackle box. So he's actually a pretty good player in the box and tackling. So he can take on running backs. He's not afraid to take on running backs or tight ends, and he's got a little bit toughness and again the speed, and he's got really good positioning. So sometimes a lot of times you might not have the greatest tackling for him, but you'll be in the right position, and he always seems to be in the right position. And I think the Mountain West sometimes gets the reputation as being a big, spread wide and throw it out league, but there are a lot of pretty good running backs in the league, and Boise State's put out some very good running backs, and he was able to meet up with them pretty well.
There are running backs that will,
and San Diego State, it just turns out running backs, and he's done well against them.
I mean, there are good running backs, but there are running backs that are going to be able to beat you even if you beat them to the spot. There are going to be running backs who are going to be able to plow through you if your form's lackluster. I just want to make sure that he's going to be able to fulfill that duty in wrapping his arms, in running through his tackles, making sure his head's on the right side. Because if not, he's going to get embarrassed.
Yeah, and I think he understands the enormity of that, and he's also very prideful guy, and he'll really work on the things he needs to work on. But you'll find a guy who just makes he's made a lot of tackles. It's I think he was a team leader in tackles last year for almost until the last game, even though he had missed the last, I think, 4 or 5 games. And before that, he had 100-plus yards each of the past 2 seasons. 100-plus tackles. And he just gets the ball and he makes tackles. And I don't know why he's got the reputation of not being a great tackler, because people might think he's a great tackler, but he makes a lot of tackles. So he's just a guy who's pretty good, and he also makes a lot of solo tackles. So I think he knows how to break down and try to hit the spots that need to take someone down.
Yeah, we've talked about Jahlani as a football player, but what type of person, what type of a man is he, and what type of a character guy are we getting here in Detroit?
Well, he's kind of a fun-loving guy, but he doesn't really party very much, and it's hard to be outrageous when you have a coach who's way more outrageous. I think I don't know if you guys know much about Nick Rolovich, but
I don't.
He's incredibly funny guy, and he'll do great things. I think they once just stopped the practice, and they had an impromptu water balloon fight, and they came out with big barrels filled with water balloons, and then they'll break. Sometimes they'll end practice early, and they'll send everyone to the pool, and they'll have diving contests and things like that. And they'll at the media days, it was in Las Vegas. Rolo brought a fake Britney one year, and he brought a fake Elvis one year, and so it's he's an incredibly innovative guy. He runs the offense, and he keeps his players loose and happy. So even if you don't want to be loose and happy, he'll make sure you're loose and happy. I'm sure it's going to be way different in the pros, but Jahlani is just this guy just responds well to good coaching and good improvisation.
I mean, you know what they say: all work and no play makes for a dull football player, right?
Yeah. When Rolovich was the quarterback coach at Hawaii, he used to have his quarterback meetings on the road in the jacuzzi. He just have a bunch of guys, sit there and go through, because sometimes you got to let off a little steam by, being in the steam.
So he's played linebacker every position. And you said he played punter one time, or he was the punter at one point. Is there any other position that he's played? Like any other positions that he's played at Hawaii?
No, but I think if there was a tight end position, he probably would have been projected to do that too. But he quickly got onto the defensive side, and he needed help there, and he stayed there. So he's he's just I don't know, just feels really comfortable on the defensive side, and again, but they had so many sub packages last year that he was just all over the field, and so he could play a lot of different spots on the field.
That's very similar. It's very similar to what we do in Detroit, although I don't think Matt Patricia is going to be having a water balloon fight. I can't see that happening.
No meetings in the jacuzzi, because
I don't think that's going to happen here.
It's so cold. I think that's the place to go.
He's a little tougher on his players, I think.
His defense and his philosophies, of course, mirror a lot of things that the Patriots do, and that's Mark Banker, who coached and those people out with the Patriots. He kept saying Jahlani's a Patriots type of guy, and then again, that's why I think Detroit picked him so high.
It's also because, and I agree with you that I think also New England was going to pick him up because I've heard the same thing, and Detroit wanted to beat him to it.
Right,
They like him a lot.
When they drafted him, I don't believe did Detroit have a third-round pick when they drafted him, or did they make the trade after? Because it seemed like it was either second or fourth that they're
can't remember.
Move on.
Yeah,
I think
they move up to get
trade, but I wasn't sure if they made it after they picked Jahlani or not. But
I'm not sure of that either.
But, yeah, so again, it was either second or fourth, and they were as people at UH tell me is they were surprised he went that early, but they also thought that he was headed to New England or another team probably in the third round.
Yeah, that's what Detroit felt too. That's what we've heard here is that he was going to go early. He was going to go before we had another pick. And so we wanted him pretty bad. And we wanted to find out why. That's why you're here with us today.
You're really going to like him. He's really accessible. If your coach is allowed to be accessible to the media, he's a tremendously accessible guy. He won't give you great quotes, though, but he'll be accessible.
Well,
there's also this other thing that they do before games. It's called the haka, and in Hawaii they also it's sort of came from the Maori in New Zealand. It's kind of some teams around the country have been doing. It's kind of a little fight dance chant, and he's one of the guys who used to lead it. So he's right up from the front, and that's not an easy thing to do when you're trying to fire up your team and the fans. And he's always front and center. He never shied away from that role either. So in the talent show, you're going to have an outstanding guy who might scare the other rookies.
I don't know. Marvin Jones can sing a little bit, so he can sing pretty well, actually.
Maybe he can sing as all he can dance. And
yeah, and we got a whole team then. No, I'm just kidding. No, another thing I wanted to find out. So Jahlani was he making a lot of the defensive calls for Hawaii his last year there?
Yeah, I think so. I think they, the defense coordinator would signal him, and he'd sort of get everybody aligned and put in place.
Right.
He called any defensive audibles, but he was able to just make sure everyone was kind of where they were. And he would even do that when he was playing on the defensive line when he was at end. And he played against Army, and Army runs kind of a triple option, sort of a hybrid triple option. They threw a little bit of passing in there, but it's mostly a running team, which emphasized a lot of the dive plays. And even though Jahlani lined up as an end, he made a lot of tackles up the middle. So he had very good diagonal range in that game. And I think he ended up with 15 tackles against a good Army team that won 11 games.
Sounds like good footwork, too, that he has.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on with us and everything today. Oh, sorry. I didn't want to interrupt. So we really appreciate you coming on with us today, and I think that we've covered most of the things that we wanted to discuss today. And really appreciate you, Stephen Tsai of the Star Advertiser. And we appreciate you coming on with us.
And I'm really disappointed during this whole time it never rained, so there went my theory.
It never rained.
Ouch. Missed those 6 minutes.
We didn't have the 6 minutes yet. That's what happened.
Okay. Well, thanks again for a nice meeting with you guys.
Stephen Tsai, everybody, from the Star Advertiser in the University of Hawaii. We really appreciate him being on. And now, for the second part of this show, take it away, Marcus.
We're going to do an in-depth look at the Lions schedule, and we'll be back right after these messages.
Hello, Lions fans. Would you like to support the continuation of this show? Become a patron. Go to www.patreon.com/Lions on the Prowl. Thank you for supporting our mission to give you Lions news and rumors from the fans' perspective.
All right, guys. So we're going to do an in-depth look at the Lions schedule. Specifically, we're going to look at who we think the Lions are going to match up well with, who we think they're going to struggle against.
And this is coming from just me and Marcus at this time because we had set this up before. We were going to use this last week. And then it's just such a interview with Dave that we decided to go away from that, and we wanted to do it this week. So, Marcus, let me ask you, who do you think the Lions match up well with?
Well, for starters, I think that we have a good chance at beating the Cardinals.
That makes sense.
You know, they got a rookie quarterback who's supposed to be playing baseball. He's not even supposed to be in the NFL. I don't know what's wrong with this kid. I really don't. Money talks, bullshit walks.
Absolutely.
He should have went to go make that baseball money. But okay, he's in the NFL. I think the Lions got a good chance at winning this game. Also, they have a new defensive coordinator. With our offense and how it's looking, how it's projected to be, they might struggle against that, especially with it being one of the first few games of the season. Is it the first game of the season?
First game of the season.
First game of the season? Even worse for them.
I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a minute. Not because it just makes I have an argument against this, actually. And the reason I do is because of the Jets last year. Jets came in, rookie quarterback, not a very good team, been wasted the Lions. Just crushed them.
Yeah, but what did we have new last year?
New head coach.
Exactly. We don't have that problem this year.
We have a new offensive coordinator.
Not as bad.
So
Eases
we'll see.
the tension.
We'll see. I'm just saying that I don't want history to repeat itself. You know what I mean? From this year to last year.
Does it?
I hope not.
Does it that soon?
I hope not.
I mean, you can argue Kennedy and Lincoln, but that's 100 years apart.
Right. No, I understand that argument, but this is only a year apart.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens.
I think we have a better chance this year against the Cardinals. What about you? Who do you think we stack up well against?
I like us against the Giants.
Really?
To be honest. The run defense is really, really good. They got Saquon Barkley. That's probably their offense, for the most part. They traded away Odell Beckham Jr.
Ooh.
We got snacks. They traded away a lot of their defensive players. Collins, their safety that was an all-star, traded him away. They got lesser players. I don't know what they're trying to do over there. And they got a rookie quarterback from Duke.
Yeah, but he's not really going to play.
No, Eli Manning's going to play. They're going to wheel him out there in some kind of a cart or something, prop him up with a stick.
I hope Snacks breaks his back.
You and me both. But yeah, I like us against the Giants. I believe that's a home game too. I believe it is. Okay, what about you, Marcus? Who's your next team?
I think we're gonna be able to beat the Buccaneers as well.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on this one.
They're struggling at cornerback, with Danny Amendola, and hopefully we get Marvin Jones back.
Hawkinson.
We got Hawkinson now. I think that's gonna plague them against us. Also, only one more team gave up more points last year, who I also think we're gonna do well against, and that's the Raiders. They have no elite defenders. Like their best defender has a heart condition, and that's who they're relying on.
Well, they traded away their best defender, Khalil Mack.
Their best defender that they have on their roster right now has a heart condition.
They got a decent offense, though. But I think they're going to struggle against us, too.
I mean, yeah, they did just get Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
With Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And he'll help, but I think our secondary will be able to withstand that. And if their defense can't contain Stafford, he's going to light it up.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll light them up, too. I agree with that assessment. I also had the Cardinals, and I did not have a third team. So let's go to the teams that we think that we're going to struggle against. Teams that it's going to be tough for us to beat these guys. So who do you have, Marcus?
Well, first off, I got the Bears. After the offseason, Bleacher Report ranked them as the top defense.
Yep.
They were first in points allowed in 2018, third in yards allowed, and their pass rush forced a league-leading 27 interceptions.
I honestly think the Bears are going to take a step back this year. I think Mitchell Trubisky will take a step back this year. That's just my personal feeling.
That doesn't mean we won't struggle against them.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I believe that as a whole, they did as good as they possibly could have last year. I think everybody either was at expectation or exceeded. You can't duplicate that.
I agree with that. They did lose a few key defenders.
Yeah,
but I still think we're going to struggle against them.
Oh, and I do too.
I'm not saying we're not going to do better than we did last year. I still think we're going to struggle.
Right, and I agree with you. I'm just saying I don't think the Bears are going to be as good as they were last year. I still think they have the defense to beat us because Stafford's going to be just harassed. I don't think we did anything to improve our offensive line, and I totally believe the Bears are going to have a field day in our backfield.
You could argue a couple offensive line moves.
Well, just Ragnow to center.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We haven't seen what those moves are going to give us yet. So
Right.
that's fair.
And maybe we are not as bad as we were last year. I mean, we really hit rock bottom.
Well, let's hope.
And I think all the players pretty much underperformed last year, including Stafford. So maybe he has a bounce back year as the rest of the team does, and we're a lot better last year than we were this year.
How do you perform normally with broken bones in your back?
Yeah, I understand that one. And Dave Burkett, that was good last week when he said, what he said about our quarterback's back. I really liked that.
I don't know. I feel like they gave him the runaround.
Maybe. All right. So my team that I think we're going to struggle against is the Philadelphia Eagles. They have the number 1 rated offensive line by PFF. They are rated the 4th best roster in the NFL. It's at Philadelphia where we legendarily struggle. And all time the Lions are 5-11 against Philly, but on the road they're only 2-7.
That's most of the games.
Yeah.
Out of 16 games, we played 9 on the road.
Not. This is all time. This is all time, like all the years combined, because we don't play Philadelphia a whole lot.
Yes. So out of 16 games,
Yep.
because they went 5-11, 5 plus 11 is 16.
Yep.
They've played 9 on the road. 2 plus
Yep.
7 is 9.
Yep. Played
They've
9
only
on the
won
road.
2.
And only won 2.
How many did we win at home?
So that'd be 3.
They only won 1 at home.
No, it'll be 3. Right? They went 5-11. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, it'll be 3 at home.
So they won 3 games at home
Yep.
out of 4. Because 4 plus 7 is 11.
Yep. So they did pretty good at home, but they're going to Philadelphia this year, which is my point.
Good point.
Okay, your next one.
Oh, well, I got our other division rivals, the Vikings.
That's a fair one.
They are ranked the number 3 defense after the offseason by Bleacher Report. 2018, they were 9th in points allowed, 4th in yards allowed, and most importantly, they were tied for 3rd with 50 sacks last year. How many sacks did Detroit give up last year?
40-some.
40, 42, 43.
Somewhere in there.
Right in there. The Vikings got 50.
I
To mention,
think most of them were on us.
not to mention, they were the stingiest pass defense in terms of TDs allowed. All the Lions got is their passing.
That's true. And it has been that way for quite a
That's
while.
going to hurt.
They had 10 sacks in one game against us. 10 sacks in one game. I totally agree with
That
this.
means that in one game, they got 1/5 of their sacks from us.
Yes, from us. And that was only 1 out of the 2 games they played.
They play how many? How
2
many
against
games?
us.
How many games total? 16?
16,
And
yeah.
in one, you got 1/5?
Yeah.
We're going to
Offensive
struggle.
line, just like I said.
We are doomed.
Doomed. Okay. I have the Kansas City Chiefs. And Peter King ranks the Chiefs number 1 in the NFL. Number 1 in the NFL. USA Today listed the Chiefs as one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. Now get this one. Pat Mahomes threw for 50 touchdowns last year
50.
and over 5,000 yards. Finished with 3rd most points in the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs did. Now, our defense this is going to be classic defense versus offense. But I think we're going to struggle. The game is at home. I still think we're going to struggle against the Chiefs. Just my opinion.
I agree.
And
I
you
agree with
have
that.
one more.
Yeah, the Chargers.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
After the offseason, Bleacher Report ranked their defense as number 4. 2018, 8th in points allowed, 9th in yards allowed. And I don't know if you watched any of their games. I watched a few, but they were really good at generating pocket pressure.
Yeah, very good.
They had 38 sacks last year. The Lions give up a lot of sacks.
The Lions give up a lot of sacks. They're not
So,
quite where Minnesota was.
We're not
but they have
really
a
going to be
really
good
offense.
against teams that bring good pocket pressure. Not to mention the Chargers also have a good offense.
Well, we saw that last year. We had Chicago, Seattle, and the Vikings in 3 weeks in a row. We lost all 3 games because their defense has just crushed us. They were on Stafford so quick he could barely get a pass off. 10 sacks by the Vikings. I think the Bears had 8. If I might be wrong on that. We've got to fact check that one. But there was a lot of sacks given up in those 3 games and not very good offensive performance over all 3. So I get where you're coming from on that because we are struggling as an offensive line. We're struggling to keep people out of the backfield. That's why the run game isn't that good, too. Same reason.
Exactly.
So we are done with that part. Hey, Marcus, what do you see our record being after the first 8 games?
All right. So, the first game we got the Cardinals. I see that as a win.
Okay.
I think we can beat the Cardinals.
All right.
Next up, the Chargers.
Yep, that's at home.
I don't know about that.
I don't either.
Then we have the Eagles. Then we have the Chiefs.
The Eagles and the Chiefs.
So I easily think we're going to start 1-3. First 4 games, I see 1-3.
What about first 8 games?
We're going to start with the first 4. You can't get to 8 without going through the first 4. First 4 games, I see 1-3. What do you have? First 4 games.
I got the same. I got 1-3. And I think the only one we have a shot at winning is Arizona, and I'm not guaranteeing that win. They could be 0-4. I don't see them beating the Chargers. I don't see them beating the Chiefs, and the Eagles.
They won't beat the Chiefs. They won't beat the Chiefs.
Chargers, excuse me. And then at Philadelphia is a rough place to play in the first place.
2-7.
Yeah, not good.
Not good. But if you're gonna get to 3, it's gonna happen. You're gonna get to 3.
Yeah,
could be this year. I don't see it being this year.
I don't either.
I see us starting 1-3. First 4 games, 1-3. I don't know. I even see us going 2-2 in the preseason.
Oh, I didn't look at that. So New England, you think they're gonna? What do you think on that? I mean, it's just preseason, so it's hard to predict.
2-2. I see 2-2 in the preseason.
Okay, that's fair. I haven't looked at it. I'll be honest. So we play the Browns. Who else do we play? Bills.
The Texans, the Bills, and the Patriots. They're going to lose to the Patriots. They're going to either beat the Browns or the Texans. One of the two. They're going to let the game slip away. I can see it.
That makes sense. Plus, you're playing a lot of your backup players, too.
And the Browns.
And we're going to have a lot of players out.
I don't know. The Browns made a lot of money moves this offseason.
Yeah, but
they may not. We're going to beat the Browns.
But they may not put all those players in. What game is that? The third game?
The 4th game.
Oh. Yeah, they may not. Typically, the 3rd game is when you have all your starters, and then you kind of rest people on the 4th week.
Still.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I don't really do preseason because it's so unpredictable.
2-2.
They hold people out.
2-2.
Stuff like that. What do we got for the next 4 games?
All right, we got the Packers, the Vikings, the Giants, and the Raiders.
We got the Chiefs, right, first?
No, the Chiefs were in the first 4 games. Cardinals, Chargers, Eagles, Chiefs, Packers, Vikings, Giants, Raiders.
Packers game is at home or away?
Away.
Okay.
I don't know about that game.
I don't either. But
we're going to lose to the Vikings.
I'm going Lions against the Packers.
We could easily go 3-1 those last 4 games. We
really could because I think we beat the Giants.
I think we beat the Giants. I think we beat the Raiders.
And I don't like us with Minnesota.
I don't like us against the Vikings. But we did beat Green Bay twice last year.
Yes, we did.
We could be riding on that momentum.
I agree with that. We beat them 4 games in a row.
We beat them twice the last 2 years.
Yes.
Yes, you're right. Mm-hmm. You're right. So we could be riding on that momentum. We could easily go. We could easily be 4-4.
Well, maybe we built this team to beat them too.
Maybe
that was a big thing coming into this for Matt Patricia because we hadn't won in Lambeau in so long. You know, I mean, it just over and over. These guys have dominated us over the years, and maybe it was one of his things that he wanted to beat them. Well, then everybody else got good.
Yep.
The Bears.
So, I see 3 wins. The second 4 games of the 8 of the first half.
I
of the
could
season.
see even 4-0 if we beat the Vikings. That's going to be a tough task.
That's going to be a tough task, and I don't see it happening. I'll be watching October 20th, but
we always seem to beat one team that we're not supposed to beat every year. Like last year was New England. No way we were supposed to beat them. Just we beat them badly.
Yeah, but we still got 8 more games.
That's true.
You want to look at those games too?
Let's look at those games too.
All righty.
We got 1-4, so we're right now 5-5.
4-4.
4-4. 8 games.
I got 4-4.
I got 4-4.
Okay, so the next we got the Bears at the Bears. Loss.
That's a loss.
That's an L. Then we got the Cowboys in Detroit.
Ooh. God, they have a good offensive line. If we can stop Ezekiel.
I did hear that Ezekiel Elliott was going to do a training camp holdout. How do you feel about that?
I don't think it will last that long in the season, so I don't think it's going to affect us.
I don't know. He's sacrificing his money.
Yeah, but how much? How many game
Colin
checks?
Cowherd said trade him.
How many game checks? Oh, he trades him. He can go here. I would not mind that.
He's got 2 years left on his contract.
Trade him here. You got Kerryon Johnson, Ezekiel Elliott.
What are we going to do? Run a wing tee?
Might as well. No, we're going to make sure that our guy, injury prone as he is, has a backup.
You're not going to back up Ezekiel Elliott to Kerryon Johnson. Are you kidding me? If Ezekiel Elliott sets foot in Detroit,
Yeah, I think
he
that's
is the
it.
starting running back and fullback. He can kick return if he wants.
That's true.
Punt return if he wants.
Yeah. I don't know about that. But
If he wants,
we wouldn't want him to do it, though.
do you know
Could be a
what
backup.
college he went to? If he sets foot in Michigan, I don't know, man. I don't know. He might not last long.
He might not.
I might have to revert that previous
Didn't he go to-
statement.
he went to
might
Ohio
not
State,
last.
right?
Yes, he went to Ohio State.
That's right.
He might not last long in Detroit. It's too close to Ann Arbor.
Yeah, Kerryon Johnson will start. He'll back up. I'm just kidding.
Zeke might be dead.
He might not make it to the stadium.
He won't make it to his house. He'll set foot off the
goodness.
plane. As soon as
That's
he sets
funny.
foot off the plane, there'll be a red dot on his
That's
forehead.
funny. No, I mean, our running game desperately needs something. You know, I think it's more offensive line than it is running back at this point.
100%.
Hopefully the tight ends will help at least chip the ends a
So
little bit.
what do you got? You got us beating the Cowboys? You got us losing to the Cowboys? What do you got?
I got us beating the Cowboys.
Beating the Cowboys. So
because
we're
I think
at
our
5
run
and 5.
defense is going to be really good.
So we're at 5-5.
Yeah.
All right. Redskins.
No, we'd be at 5-5. 5-4, right?
5-5. Cowboys are their 10th game.
Oh, because we
Bears are
just
the
said
9th.
loss right away to
We
that.
said loss right away to the Bears.
Bears.
5-5.
What's the next one?
Redskins.
Oh, that's a tough one. God, depends.
Because it could go either way.
It really could.
It really
because
could
it
go
depends
either
on what
way.
quarterback they decide to play that week.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, I got us beating them too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, then we play the Bears.
that's a loss.
L.
Yeah.
L.
Yep.
So we're back at 6-6.
You know that's
And I don't
it's
know.
better than
I
6-10.
I don't know about the Redskins, man.
I don't
We
either.
could lose that game.
We
We could
could.
easily be 5-7.
Right. We could.
But we'll go
easily
with
be
6 and
5
6.
7.
We'll go with 6 and 6. The Bucks.
That should be an easy one. But I'm scared of the Lions in easy games because they always screw us over.
And I skipped the Vikings because that's an L.
Oh yeah, that's an L.
All right. And because it's at Minnesota.
Is the Bucks game here or there?
It's at Detroit.
Okay, I'll take Detroit.
Okay, I'll take Detroit. So that makes us what? 7-7?
Yeah,
7-7?
we're very mediocre.
All right. Broncos.
Loss.
We're going to lose to the Broncos?
I believe so.
I believe so as well.
Mile High, the air up there, the travel. For some reason, I don't know why, we just don't play well there.
Detroit's spoiled. They have that nice ass dome. You know what I'm saying?
They're not like Green Bay or Chicago. where
It's
outside.
nice. It's nice in Ford Field, man.
Yes,
It's
it
nice
is.
in there. It's comfortable. Stafford's like, I want to play in 65 degrees today. They're gonna make it 65 degrees.
Yeah, whatever
like-
he says.
They ain't got that in the Mile High City.
No, they don't.
The air's thinner up there. It's harder to breathe.
So I want to bring something up just before we get to the rest of the games.
There's only,
Have
one,
you
there's only
accounted-
one game left.
Have you accounted? Okay, we'll do the one game. Let's do the one game first, and then I'll make a comment.
Okay. Green Bay
Win.
win. It's at Detroit.
Yeah,
I think we win that game.
I
8-8. We
think-
got 8-8.
that's much better than when I had 7-9.
We got 8-8.
But-
you just talked yourself into 8-8.
I did because of Washington Redskins. I gave them that.
10-10 if we're counting preseason.
So they're like even across the board.
Even across the board.
Okay, so
mediocre.
here's a question.
Mediocre as hell.
Kind of off the chain here a little bit.
I'm ready.
Do you account for games that officials take away?
How can you?
I mean, that's the thing. We can go all day long and look at these games like, ooh, Detroit should beat this
We're just
team.
looking at it on paper.
Right, I know that. But it's like every year, it seems like the officials take away at least 1 or 2 games.
We can't plague ourselves with that. We're not officials.
Well, true.
We can only look at it on paper.
But do you? I was asking you. Do you account for that in what you're looking at, or are you just looking at the teams?
How can I?
You can't.
Exactly.
I
I
guess.
just look at it on paper.
All right. I do in a way, and that's why I'm 7-9, and that's why I'm saying.
But how
7.
can you? How do you know who's going to officiate each game?
You don't. But
Exactly. So how can you account for that?
It happens every year.
How can you account for it, though?
I mean, you can't
it
account
happens,
for it.
but
again.
how
So,
can you account for it?
So, like Seattle with the batted ball thing. They would have had the ball on the 1 yard line. If it was done legally, we'd have had the ball on the 1 yard line with not very much time left. We probably win that game if it wasn't for the officials.
Okay, but 2 weeks before preseason starts, do you know who's going to referee that game?
No.
So how do you
I'm
know
just
that's
saying,
going to happen? So how can you quantify that? You
can't
can't.
quantify it,
Okay,
but you
then.
know it's going to happen.
You don't. You don't know.
because you're a Lions fan.
You don't. Okay, you're a Lions fan, but which game is it going to happen in? You don't know. So
How
you
about the
can't
Seattle
factor that
playoff
in.
game?
You can't factor that in because you don't know.
Where the guy face masks the guy and gets a penalty for interference.
It happens. But did you know it was going to happen before the game started?
No, but
did
I
you
knew-
know it was going to
I
happen
knew.
before the play started?
But I keep that in mind.
Keep it in mind, but you can't base it off anything.
Yes, sure I can. When I sit here and
can't.
think about what the team's going to do this year, we have them at 8-8 on paper. I went 7-9 in my predictions because I believe we're going to get robbed out of one of them games.
We probably are. We're probably going to get robbed out of 2, but you don't know which 2.
No, that's true.
So you got to judge it on paper.
Well, we can until and then that's what I said. I factor that into my overall count. So
So you don't know what's going to happen though. You don't know what's going to happen though. What if we rob somebody else out of those 2 games?
No, it could be.
Then we're 10-8, or then we're 10-6. Then
it
what?
could be. It doesn't generally happen, but it could be.
But it could.
I remember
Just like-
one game with the
just
Vikings.
as we could get
happened.
robbed just as much as we could rob somebody else. You can't quantify it. You can't factor it in. So we can only look at it on paper.
Well,
we can't decide games. That's the referee's job. We can only look at it on paper. We shouldn't plague ourselves with trying to figure out which game we're going to lose because the referee makes a crappy call. Because that's not us. I'm not gonna put myself through that kind of torture because
and it's not
why?
torture for me because I know it happens every year.
It happens every year, but you don't know when.
That doesn't matter.
So why figure it out? Let's just watch and see.
Well, I'm not saying figure it out. I figure it into my yearly prediction. I'm not saying.
So what you're saying is, out of 8-8, we're going to get robbed out of an extra game.
Yes.
Okay, I can accept that.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Okay. So
which game are we going to get robbed out of?
I don't know that.
How are we going to get robbed out of it?
And I don't know that, but I do know we will. And watch, at the end of the season, I'll show you which game that was.
I want you to. I want you to. I want you to.
Oh, it's not hard.
But what if we don't go 7-9?
What do you
Then
mean
what
if
happens?
we don't go 7-9?
You're predicting 7-9 because we're going to get robbed out of a game. What if we
Yeah.
get robbed out of 2 games?
Well, then
we
we
go
would be-
6-10.
Then we'd be 6-10.
That's what I'm saying. You
What
can't
if we
quantify it on
What
that.
if we don't win the
can't
Washington
quantify it
game?
on
Then we're like 5-11.
Can't quantify it on that.
Okay, that'll do it for this episode of Lions on the Prowl. Want to thank Stephan Tsai for joining us from the University of Hawaii. Thought that was a really, really good interview. And Tim, take us home this week.
All right. Well, hope to see you all back again next week. And once again, thank you for listening from Marcus, Jim, and Tim. Remember, one pride, Lions on the Prowl. Go Lions!